make it your own, then let's talk to one another. Let's reason with one another on a scriptural discussion with the Son of Man. A live broadcast every Sunday at 12 noon on TV 33, FM 88.1 WHPR, and Comcast Cable. So why don't you call and let's discuss the Holy Bible, and if you have one, the Holy Quran, and come to an agreement about the Holy Scriptures and their true meaning. So tune in to a scriptural discussion with the Son of Man every Sunday at 12 noon right here on TV 33, FM 88.1 WHPR, and Comcast Cable. You can call in live on the air at area code 313-868-4336, 868-0342, and 868-0351. Of course, the area code is 313. That's 313-868-4336, 868-0342, and 868-0354. And now let's go live to the scriptural discussion with the Son of Man.
In the name of Allah, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Most Merciful, the Truthful, and the Most Just. I greet all of you once again with the greeting words of peace from the God of peace, the Lord of the worlds. May Allah's salam alaikum. May Allah's peace be unto you all. I'm going to first open up the arena to those of you who think that maybe you have some disagreement with me. I'm not the kind of person who like to talk at people. I like to talk to people. Anytime I say something that you think is erroneous, then you have that invitation from me to come in and straighten it out, or question me on what it is, or put forth your arguments that refute whatever it is that you think I have said that's erroneous. So I'll keep my word before we go into a discussion with a guest that I have. And it's a lady that says that she is one of those that was, I think, as they say, assaulted by Dr. Cosby. And she has agreed to let, to come in and talk with us about it. I want to, I'm not a person who like to carry on gossip. I don't like that. But as you know, that if you're going to stop gossip, you have to be willing to discuss it. As the truth comes, falsehood leaves. You don't, even if I stood up here and told a lie, if I stand up here and tell a lie and no one confronts it, well, then the lie can masquerade itself as the truth. But if the truth confronts that which I said that is not true, then it does away with that lie. You understand? Like light. That's why we say the truth is the light. Because as long as there is no light, as long as light, I'll put it like this. It's improper to say there is no light. There has never been a time when there was no light. Light is everywhere in the universe. Darkness is what had to be created. So as long as light does not make its appearance, darkness rules. And as long as truth does not make its appearance or its presence known, then falsehood can rule. You understand? So you have people that say of me, black and white people, that I'm a false, what they say, false prophet. But when I invite them to come in and point out the falsehood that I am teaching, they refuse to come. That's like a person telling you, if you go up, if a person that says or claims to be wiser than you, if you're working a problem on a blackboard, when they don't hardly use blackboards anymore, but they still are around. And they tell you that you're working the problem wrong. And then you say, well, okay, come in here and come on up here and straighten out what I messed up. What part of this equation did I make my error in? And they say, I don't care to get up there and show you nothing. Well, then why did you open your mouth? That's the next question, right? Because if you wasn't prepared to show me what was erroneous, you should have shut up. Don't say you don't care to talk about it when you instituted the conversation by saying that I was wrong about something. Right? Okay. So there again, if you don't believe I'm the Son of Man that the Bible talks about, you have my open invitation. While I have not taken up any subject, you have my invitation to come in and point out to the people that I am misleading, what it is that I'm misleading them in, and be prepared to have that discussion with me in front of the people that I said all of these things to. You see? So, I'm going to give you a few minutes because we have a guest, Miss Kristina Ruehli, that we want to talk to about things that happened with her. And, because there's so many people, when a man who has had, the kind of history that any movie star that is long running, not just Bill Cosby, but um, Clint Eastwood or Burt Reynolds, or uh, I'm not a real, I don't keep up with a lot of them, but there are some big name people. Something comes up about them, uh, it can really, a person that has that kind of reputation, anything that comes up negative about them is automatically in this society that we live in. It's automatically uh, catches fire. It's like starting a fire in a dry forest. You know, people will take it and run with it, and where even if it's just innuendos, even if it's not a lot of facts, uh, because that's the way this society is. And but I'm not a person who believes in that. At the same time, I don't turn a deaf ear just because I may like you. That don't mean I got to turn a deaf ear when someone got a legitimate complaint against you. Do you do you understand? So, we should be just. And now, is there anyone out there that thinks that they uh, have something that I'm teaching or have taught that they can prove is false? You're welcome to come on in and discuss it with me. Most people in this society are taught uh, bigotry. They are being taught to be bigots. For instance, um, in the public school system, we were taught uh, that the are gospel. They don't tell us that uh, in words, but we learned that anything that any school book said settled any argument that we had with each other. Is you couldn't question what the book said. If you start questioning the book, they would tell you that, of course, nobody questioned the book. We used to argue with each other, and someone would say on page so and such and so, it said so and so. And he say, show it to me. And you showed it to them, and they said, well, yeah, that's what the book said. And we treated those books like God revealed them. Right? They still do that. God didn't have nothing to do with them books that you got there. You see holy on the front end of them. Them people sit down there and wrote them books, and even the ones who write the books, they give you a book 2 years from now and it say something different, a lot of things different than that one said. And we never, but we don't question the books. And so when someone begins to argue with what that book said, then we get offended. That's what bigotry is when you will hold on to your views and want people to hear your views while you're not willing to entertain anyone who disagrees with your views. Huh? So I want to first say to Miss Ruehli that Miss Ruehli is old enough to know the injustices that have been done to black men in this country because a white woman said he raped her. You know, I was born in Mississippi. And when that young man from was down here visiting, Emmett Till was visiting here, they murdered him for what they said whistling at a white woman. Many injustices not just were done to black people by white people in the name of protecting the honor of the white woman. Many injustices are done to us just on GP, just on just like when we hear, not saying that Miss Ruehli is like that, no. Otherwise, she wouldn't be in here willing to talk with us. But you know, when you I'm old enough. Miss Ruehli is about 7 years older than me. She's 71, and I'm 64. And so I have, I had some brothers that are older than her, and older than Dr. Cosby. You know, so you know, I'm aware of what took place in the 60s. I was a teenager in the 60s. And I know what we used to do. And so, you know, I'm not speaking from a perspective of just hearing about how things were. I was there. So, Ms. Ruehli is a native of California. Ms. Ruehli, I grew up in California. I was born in Mississippi, but I grew up in California. I went to 96th Street Elementary School, Markham Junior High, and Jordan High School. And I worked for about 3 months at Norris Industries before enlisting in the Marine Corps. And then after I went into the Marine Corps, I did a tour of duty in Vietnam, and spent about a year stateside after my tour of duty in Vietnam. Year, maybe two. So I got back from Nam in 70, and then about a year, yes. So I spent all of 71, and in January of 72, I got discharged, a general discharge on honorable conditions, because I just couldn't take the military anymore. Then I think if you tell people that you would like to know something about them, they have a right to know a little bit about you. And so a year after I got out of the military, after working a little bit, selling vacuum cleaners, being a representative for business schools and things like that, going out getting recruits for that, I went to the temple, Muhammad's temple, for the first time. uh, uh, on an invitation from a brother I worked with, and I accepted the teachings of Islam as was taught by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And so I've been a practicing Muslim ever since 22 years old. And so that's basically my history. And so she's a native of California, native Californian, but spent her wonder years, and she can explain that statement. I'm thinking that it's talking about her school upcoming and growing up years, and from a child to a teenager. Wonder years in France. Living abroad really broadened me. I excelled in high school. She excelled in high school and was working at Artists, that's ARTISTS, Artists Agency Corporation, to get money for college. And after her encounter with Mr. Cosby, she finished a degree in political science at UCLA, then went to law school, and never practiced law, but went instead into a career on Wall Street in corporate finance. And she is married to a Swiss scientist and has 2 children. And her and her spouse are retired. They retired in 2009 and moved from Chappaqua, New York to, and excuse me if I'm mispronouncing that, Chappaqua, New York to New Hampshire, to be close to 7 of their grandchildren who live in Boston, and to take advantage of the skiing in New Hampshire. So we are going to give Ms. Ruehli a chance to reintroduce herself, and then we will have a discussion about this article that was written in a Philly magazine.com, phillymag.com, news plus opinion. And the title of the article is Bill Cosby Drugged and Attacked Me in 1965. Ms. Ruehli, you can press *6 on your phone and unmute yourself. Just hit *6.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. How you doing?
Oh, fine. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm not grumbling.
We have snow here. Do you?
No, ma'am. We don't have any snow. Not at this time. It does snow here from time to time, but not at this time.
I'm happy to answer your questions. And I'm happy to know I'm talking to a fellow Californian.
Yes, ma'am. So I want you to, if it's anything I left out in your introduction, what did you mean wonder years? I assume, was I right on that?
You were. There
Okay.
was a show in the 1980s about people in junior high school called The Wonder Years. And so that's what I meant by that. I was at that age when I lived from age 9 to age 14. I lived abroad in France. My father is in the military.
Okay. What branch?
Army, medical,
Oh, okay.
6th Army.
All right. Okay, Ms. Ruehli, if you don't mind, well, let's get something else clear. Ms. Ruehli and I are talking for the first time right now.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So this is not a show. This is an interview.
Correct.
There is no one censoring this. Okay. Now, and I'm going to begin reading. If I read anything that's what you call not accurate, Ms. Ruehli, stop and correct it.
Okay.
Okay, I'm reading from this article that the young man who contacted you gave me on your interview.
Mm-hmm.
It says, these days, Kristina Ruehli is a 71-year-old New Hampshire woman who spends her leisure time skiing and being a grandmother to 8. But back in 1965, she was a 22-year-old woman trying to make ends meet in California, working as a secretary at a talent agency in Beverly Hills. And that is where she met Bill Cosby.
Yes.
Now, the question was, how did you come to know Bill Cosby?
He was a client of the agency, and I didn't really know him. He was very well liked, and he was in the office one day. He was going to make an appearance on Hollywood Palace that night, and he invited a number of people in the secretarial pool area, where he was standing, to come to an after party at his house, and said, so everybody come, and so myself and one of the actresses who was a client of the firm decided to go.
Okay, now when you met him, you say you didn't. He wasn't well known or something. He wasn't a.
Oh no, he was very well known.
Oh, okay.
Of course, he was one of the biggest clients we had, and he was very well liked.
Okay.
I had never met him before.
Well, see, I'll come back to that, but let's go to this next the invitation. It says, let's see here. How was you said he was a client? Then it says yes. Well, he came into the office. There were always all these contracts going around from the studio lawyer to the artist lawyer. And I am assuming he was there to talk to a lawyer about a contract. Cosby came back to where the secretaries were and said, I'm going to be on Hollywood Palace tonight, and I'm going to have a party at my home afterward.
Yes.
And then you said, so he invited me. And I went.
Me personally?
Yes, ma'am.
I was part of a group. So probably that could be, but he didn't personally invite me. I sat in a room full of people. If anything, other people in that room knew him better than I did, because that was the first time I had ever seen him. I mean, I had seen him on TV.
So they misquoted you there?
Yes, they did. It wasn't just me personally, because actually two of us showed up at the party that were in that room.
Okay, it says, the next question was, do you think it was unusual for him to invite you to his house?
Not at all. We had a number of very big clients, and lawyers and agents and their secretaries, and as in many workplaces, for instance, in law firms, it's better if you win a big case, you invite everybody that worked on it. In our office, people were very social. With the celebrities, we had Bing Crosby and George Burns and Geraldine Chaplin, who is Charlie Chaplin's daughter. A number of Robert Culp. I could go on and name a lot of names, but we had a lot of big clients, and it wasn't unusual to be invited to a party that was related to something like his appearance on Hollywood Palace, or an after party of some sort related to that. So that was not the first time I had been invited to someone's who was a client's house.
Well, that interview, when they asked you that, did you think it was unusual for him to invite you? That was a misprint too.
I didn't think it was at all.
So he did personally invite you?
He didn't just invite me, he invited everyone.
Okay. All right. So they should have corrected that, huh?
Yeah, I agree with you that it says he invited me, and
yes,
that probably was a misquote. This story in Philly Magazine was done by notes taken by a reporter who was very accurate in his reporting of facts. I did correct him on a couple of things. He said I had 7 grandchildren when I actually have 8, and so I just didn't catch that one. That he did not just invite me.
Okay. Okay. Now, after that, the answer was no. It was supposed to be a party, and the agency was a very social place, and I was quite an attractive young woman with an A+ figure and natural blonde hair. And if you don't think nothing of yourself, ain't nobody else gonna think nothing of you. So I was just saying, for some people they say, well, she's stuck on herself. Well, if you don't think nothing of yourself, ain't nobody else gonna think nothing of you.
Well,
so you were just telling the truth, huh?
You would probably say so, and maybe you were. But I was an attractive woman.
Okay.
You know the 60s very well, Mr.
Yes, ma'am. I know. You didn't get no job in no agency if you didn't have something going.
Like for stewardesses, and
yes, ma'am.
Because they were pretty.
Yes, and the stars were too.
Or women firemen, or women flying jets, or anything. There were a lot of things that are different now, and some of them have improved for the better, and some of them have just stayed the same.
Yes, ma'am. This next thing, he said, what happened when you got to the house? And it says, when you arrived, he said, when I arrived at his house, it was probably around 10 p.m.
Yes.
And I was surprised that there was no one else there.
Actually arrived with either just before or just after the actress that arrived. I was surprised that none of the other people from the office were there.
Okay.
This actress arrived. She had been in the room at the time when the invitation was extended, and she arrived just before or just after me. So, but 2 people showing up from the whole office really did surprise me.
Okay, who was she?
At his home.
Who was she?
I beg your pardon?
The interviewer didn't even put her in here. Who was she?
That is, I cannot tell her name. Okay. It has been checked out, but for legal reasons, I can only tell you that she was a fairly well-known actress in shows like Big Valley and Wild Wild West at the time. She was far prettier than I was.
Has she passed away?
No, she said she's 2 years older than I am.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And CNN and some of the other networks that have interviewed me have tried to contact her. She's married. I cannot blame her for not coming forward. But she was there too.
Okay.
And when we arrived, Dr. Cosby told us that his wife was out of town, and he did have a baby in his house that he wanted to show to us, and he was very excited about the baby. And so he took us into the child's room, and she was asleep in the crib. She was under 1 year of age. I didn't know exactly how old, but he was really excited about his baby girl.
Okay.
We then went out and went into the kitchen, and he poured us a couple of drinks, both of us. And I assumed that other people would be arriving because it was an after party. So people work late and they get there late. It might be some of the people from Hollywood Palace. But I just assumed that we were the first people there after Hollywood Palace. So he fixed us a drink and we waited.
Okay. And both of when you say he fixed you all a drink, you talking about you and the other lady?
Yes, he fixed both of us a drink.
At what point did the other lady leave?
She did not. She was there at the time that I passed out.
When you say at the time when you passed, had you had anything? I know when I used to, you know, I wasn't always religious, you know. When I used to party, I didn't drink bourbon, but I drank rum and Coke, and
same thing.
And when I couldn't get that, I got white port or Ripple.
Yes, me too.
And whenever we got ready to go party, I would always, you know, we you know, for the weekend, you know, we all live for the weekend, and so before we go to a party, we'd get us something to drink, and everybody would be getting nice, and as we called it. By the time I got to the party, I was ready. Usually,
I had not had anything to drink before I arrived at the party.
Well, you know, that was a common practice with us, though. You know, I know during that.
I actually never kept any alcohol around my house.
Well, what did you?
I was in a relationship with a boyfriend then, and we didn't even drink together. If I went to out, you know, with friends, then maybe I would have a drink or two, but I actually drank very little alcohol. I used to drink a bourbon in 7 because I put ice in it, and 7-Up, and you know, that was something that I could kind of sip slowly, and it didn't particularly affect me. It's nice being young when you take more alcohol. But I really didn't drink before I arrived at the party.
So you wasn't no heavy drinker?
Oh no! Oh no!
Well, then where did they put this in here?
I don't think I even kept wine at home until after I got married. So no, I absolutely was not.
Where did they? Why did they?
Keep real regular hours, and so I just couldn't afford, either financially or, you know, in terms of losing my job, to mess with stuff. I mean, I smoked cigarettes, but I never messed with anything else.
I'm curious as to this. At one point it says, "Did you lose consciousness at some point?" And your answer was, it says, "Yes, I completely passed out at that age, two bourbon and 7-Ups. I guess that's bourbon and 7s.
Yes.
Would not have knocked me out. Believe me, in those days, I could drink most men under the table. That must have been a misprint. What?
No,
What
that's
did you
not a
tell?
misprint at all. I am of Irish heritage. The thing about being Irish is that you can really drink a lot of alcohol before it affects you. The bad thing about it is when you get to be about 40, it drops you like a rock. You can't drink any or whatever. So I was able to have, what I meant by that was that I could hold my liquor better than a lot of men my age, simply because I had excellent health, I guess, but I didn't mean to imply that that I was like going out and drinking all the time with men. It's just that a little bit of alcohol did not affect me.
Well,
and 2 bourbon and 7s is just a little bit of alcohol.
Well, that's what I was trying to reconcile, because I
understand what you're saying, sir. The thing is that what I meant to say and it didn't come across is I could have had a lot more alcohol and still not have been particularly drunk.
Yeah, and you basing that not on the fact that you have a big history of drinking, but on the fact
I didn't have a history of it. I just able to tolerate alcohol really well. I have a brother-in-law who, if he has half a glass of red wine, he passes out. He has no tolerance for it, but I do.
You had two.
So I can drink more and not feel it.
You had two 8-ounce glasses, and that was it?
Yes, but it was mixed with 7-Up and on the rocks.
And I know me myself, as I was drinking. I ain't gonna stand up and tell you I was of the right age when I started, because I wasn't. I used to work with some old men, and they would buy Coke 45 and that kind of stuff, and I hated beer, but I used to drink it. I used to drink it because I could drink a few swigs of it, and I'd be floating.
Not me at all. I actually don't like the taste, but I like sweeter things like wine or a bourbon and 7 or a rum and Coke.
Yes, ma'am.
Or something. But beer, unless I went to a fraternity party, I might have a beer or something like that, because I had already gone 1 year to UCLA.
Well, what I was getting at,
money and had to draw back.
What I was getting at is that I
just wasn't a drinker, so 2 drinks would not have made me pass out at all.
Well, what I was getting at was that if I've never seen any kind of medical reports, Miss
Ruehli.
I've never seen that name before.
It's Swiss.
Yes, ma'am.
I am married to a Swiss man.
Okay, I had never seen that. I never seen any medical report that Irish people can drink more whiskey than other people. I just never.
Yes, actually, Scandinavian people and Nordic people in general have reputations for alcohol.
Well, I know that, but I had never seen no documented evidence that is born Irish or whatnot, that they can automatically just start drinking.
I'm not saying that is true. There are other people who cannot tolerate alcohol at all. American Indians, for instance, Native Americans have a very low tolerance for it. But I am of Nordic descent and Irish descent, and it's a joke. Irish people.
Well, yeah, Irish whiskey. Yeah, you're right. I've seen the Irish. They as far as whiskey goes, the Irish and whiskey go together. as far as
But,
that,
I mean, there's
those
people
two terms.
who
But
are lactose intolerant because where they come from, there were not a lot of dairy animals. So I just had the ability to drink a couple of bourbon and sevens and not even feel it.
okay, the reason I did you go to any doctor or whatnot and get your blood checked to see if as those saying go, if anybody had slipped you a Mickey?
No. I have to tell you that this was 1965. I had no idea what had happened to me. First of all, I'd never had any experience with drugs of any kind before.
I mean,
so I didn't even suspect that something had been put in my drink. And I had to be at work the next day. So to go to a doctor, which would have been expensive. I did not make much money. To go to a doctor and have him test me for anything, never occurred to me. I did not go to the police or anything either, because Mr. Cosby was a very powerful client. And it wouldn't have mattered if he was Bing Crosby or George Burns or, Bozo the Clown. If I still would not have gone to the police because he was an important client, and I could have lost my job. Well,
and the thing is, we know what the atmosphere. Now, remember, now we got to get real, and the atmosphere of the '60s. Just like even now, a black man, he can be the president of the United States. He's still, in most circles, he's just a nigga. And let's just be real now.
Shows about, well, if Obama doesn't do well, then we'll say he's a white man. But I happen to deeply admire our president, and
well, no, I'm not trying to get on him. I'm trying to say back in the '60s, it was even. I mean, I don't care who you was. If
color could have
if you was
have been elected.
Well, no, Miss Ruehli, that's not what I brought that up for. I mean, Miss.
You're right.
Miss Ruehli.
Horrible attitude.
No, what I was saying is that if Bill Cosby had been a Caucasian, I could understand that statement. But any black man that did something that was to that effect of disrespecting or trying to rape a white woman or whatnot, I don't care. He could have. Harry Belafonte, when he went down there to him and Sidney Poitier, when he went down, they went down south for the civil rights movement during the '60s.
Yes.
And they like to got killed. And so, I mean, that was the atmosphere in the '60s. And I
totally understand that.
And hippie.
The fact that he was a man of color meant nothing to me in terms of what had happened. If Bing Crosby had done the same thing, nothing would have been different. Mr. Cosby's color meant nothing. I thought he was really a fine man, and that is why I had no reason to distrust him when I accepted an invitation to his home along with many other people. He was very well liked. He was an admired star, and so
he wasn't bad looking either, was he?
I had no intention of ever accusing him of anything at that time.
Okay, now this is my point. Now, when all is said and done, if I just asked you point blank, if you passed out at Bill Cosby's house,
yes,
did he rape you?
No.
Okay.
And I never said he did.
No, ma'am. I know it, Miss Ruehli. I'm trying to get at these people who would try to stretch the truth, which you are not trying to do. But by hearing all these other people,
I agreed with a lot of what you said before I came on the air.
By hearing a lot of these other people, it wouldn't help. But I mean, I don't care what went down. It wouldn't. You'd have to think and say, now, when I was at his house, maybe I better say something, because maybe it wasn't as innocent as I might have thought it was. You know, that's the way it is when you hear a lot of people making complaints.
Well,
and
you have to understand that first of all, I passed out, and then when I awoke, the incident happened, but I threw up, and he left, and I left.
You would have known, though, if he had raped you.
Oh, I did not.
That's what I'm saying.
Read the article.
If he had attacked you,
was naked, and I was sick I was sick to my stomach because of whatever I had taken, and I went into the bathroom and threw up. And when I came out, he had left. And so I put my shoes on. I did not have a hangover. I put my shoes on and got in my car and drove home. And then I went to work the next morning. I had to be at work. But I said nothing.
Well, Ms. Ruehli,
at that time. And I forgot. I told my boyfriend about it. And I moved on with my life and said nothing until 2005.
Yes, ma'am.
And then Andrea Postan sued him. And I read the article in the paper, and I thought something like that happened to me. So I called her lawyer, and her lawyer, neither she nor her lawyer talked to me. They had another lawyer call me and say, "What is your story? You may have to go and be questioned about it in court." And I gave them my story, and they kept me anonymous. There were a number of anonymous people in that lawsuit called Jane Doe's. And nothing much happened, and then about a year later, in 2006, the case settled. And I said nothing about it to anyone except I was just getting married that year. So I was had other things on my mind.
Yes, ma'am.
I was getting married. I was remodeling the house. I had to travel to Sweden with my husband. And so I completely forgot about it.
Well, I know back in...
It wasn't until Hannibal Buress said something that I had told my daughter at once about it, about back in the 80s or something, when she was 20. But until Hannibal Buress said something, I never gave it another thought. To me, I had not been damaged.
Well, I know you. I know. I can tell. Even the way you came in here, it's a frenzy going on right now.
I understand
about him.
I was one who left feeling that, although he had exposed himself to me, and I have thoughts that I won't air unless you ask me. Another woman.
I don't do tabloid. No, ma'am.
So we're on that together.
Yes, ma'am.
And so I felt that I was not injured in any way, that I needed to rush off to a police station or have myself tested. He had not really done anything that was outrageous. I mean,
yes, ma'am.
I think he drugged me because I would not have passed out that easily. But when I woke up, my first thought was not, "Oh, there is Dr. Cosby with no clothes on." My first thought was how sick I was. and I threw up several times, and when I came out, he was gone, and I went home. There's nothing to call the police about on that, to me.
Well, I'm gonna tell you.
And there is nothing to go get tested for or anything. It was just an unfortunate incident.
Well, Ms. Ruehli, I'll tell you.
I forgot about it. I didn't say anything at the office about it because he was a powerful, important man. And it wouldn't matter whether it was Bing Crosby or Geraldine Chaplin or any of the other many stars that we represented. You don't talk about clients at the office.
Well, Ms. Ruehli, I understand how Hollywood is. I mean, I grew up out there. I mean, I
could lose my job if I said something, because they would have no reason to believe me. I was just a secretary, and I had no proof or anything about what had happened.
Well, the main thing is that person, I'm gonna tell you flat out. If it was me or any other man that if I was drugging you if I was gonna drug you, and well, when you woke up, the deed would have been done. And so true. So that's just, and if the deed wasn't done, then that should have set your mind at ease that.
Hear me out. The deed, there were two people there. I believe I was the second. But at any rate, he needed me awake because he wanted oral sex.
Well.
And when I woke up, I was just too sick. You're correct. The deed wasn't done to me. But I don't know what happened while I was unconscious. What? I was still clothed when I woke up. And I have been interviewed on a lot of the TV stations now, and they've checked out some of this story and verified parts of it. But unlike a lot of the others, I was not undressed. I think I was his second option.
Well, the thing is, Ms. Ruehli.
It doesn't matter what I think.
Ms. Ruehli.
I'm telling you that the story that I tell you is the truth as best I recall it, but also that I left feeling that he had not raped me.
Well, I'm gonna tell you.
All to do was find my shoes and purse.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something. If that had happened even to that other, can you tell me that she was a Caucasian lady?
Yes, she was.
Okay. Caucasian women don't let black men do that to them.
Well,
now I'm just not back in the 60s and not now.
Well,
now now I know better than that.
I have to disagree with you on that point.
Why would they do that? Why would they let a black man get away with drugging and raping them?
Because they're a successful actress and they have a career to worry about.
Now let's think.
Less powerful than he was, and he had a lot to lose.
Let's talk about the. How do you feel about the? I'll give you an example. Monica Lewinsky.
Yes.
Okay.
I think she led President Clinton on.
Yes, she did.
I think she did.
Okay.
I love President Clinton.
Now I do too. The man is a good man. I mean, many people think that just because we, the Nation of Islam under the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, taught and teach that white people are devils, they think that we somehow think that all white people, because they got white skin, is evil. And that's not the teachings.
And it's also not the case that all people with white skin,
they ain't all good either. That's right.
That's right. I take a lot of support for Trayvon Martin and Michael Brown and many of the other things. I'm a big watcher of Reverend Al.
Well, these people that did that to these young men.
I feel people of other faiths and other colors. This sounds silly to say, but my best girlfriend is a Korean. I feel that there are good and bad everywhere. I have known so many people of color that I love, and I'll just start with our president. So for me to go just accuse somebody who hadn't really raped me just because he had black skin, this isn't Emmett Till. Okay, I felt I didn't really, and what I suspected had happened, I had no proof for it. I never saw Dr. Cosby again.
Mm-hmm.
And that was mainly because I left and went to work somewhere else for a law firm. I never saw the actress again, although she was frequently on TV. So whatever happened while I was passed out, I can only, that is just, a hypothetical.
Okay, and one more thing. All of you all were, from what I'm doing the math on, y'all was in y'all's early 20s, huh?
I was 22. He is 6 years older than I. I happen to remember that because my husband is also 77. So he would have been, 29 then?
Okay. So
yeah, 28, yeah. 29. And he started with Bob Culp, and Bob Culp was also a client.
Mm-hmm.
And had this exact same thing happen at Bob Culp's house, I would have reacted the same way. Okay, I wouldn't have said anything. I would not have felt injured.
As long as you woke up and you had not been touched.
Right.
Yeah.
The only reason I came forward was that it was a similar story. Now, they say they're all white women, but there is actually a woman of color who she's fairly light, but it's a woman who is 15. So there's it's not just all white women. It coincidentally is, but I have no idea what is in Dr. Cosby's mind. I just told my story. Yes, I went there and had 2 drinks. I was drugged. I had, because I would never pass.
At least you believe you were drugged.
Oh, I know I had to have been drugged. And here's the reason why. I threw up, okay, but I was not hungover.
Well, understand something. Understand something. I done threw up before now. I got drunk and passed out and lost a girlfriend behind it. But when I got up the next day, I wasn't hungover, but I remember throwing up, and I don't remember passing out, but I do remember waking up.
Yeah.
And I ain't never had no hangover.
I would never have passed out from that small amount of alcohol that I had. It might have, it might as well have been a cup of tea.
Well, like I said, if you wasn't a heavy drinker, then I mean 8 ounces is a cup, and glasses is a pint.
That was filled with 7-Up and ice in addition.
Yeah, I know, but remember now, I used to drink, and when I drank, I pour whiskey into the, I pour whiskey and then flavor it with some Coca-Cola or something. But the most of it wasn't no watered down drink. It was a drink.
I drank it on the ice.
And I did too.
And it melts while you're drinking it, so it further
yes, ma'am.
It. So it lasts longer that way, and it dilutes.
But I just can't. I'm what I'm trying to get at is that a man with the reputation of helping as many people as Dr. Cosby has helped, it's going to take more than just a bunch of innuendos to take away the good that man has done as his life progressed. I mean, it's just
it's entitled to their opinion.
Yes, ma'am.
And to speak from, as you said in the beginning, from what they know.
That's right.
I am not on a mission to do anything but other than to speak up of what I know, which is what is in that article. I do not deny that he has done good things, or that he was extremely well liked at the office where I work.
And you do not say that he raped you.
Anything, but sometimes there are two sides to a person.
And you have not said that he drugged and raped you.
I said he drugged and assaulted me. Assault is a different thing than rape.
Well,
okay.
You know, when you say us, well, if you say
he never violated my body, which is rape. Assault, you can assault somebody just by slapping them. Okay?
Yeah, but rape is an assault.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't separate the word assault from rape.
Well, it's different to try to force a woman to give you oral sex. Okay, he did attempt to do that. And I got sick and lifted up my head and went to the bathroom and threw up. And when I came back, he was gone. And so I went home, but he did take my head and press it towards his erect penis.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something. Now, you know, I don't get into all of that, but the thing is, you know, I mean, for your own dignity, for your own, we don't do that.
And those charges have been stated on the national networks. That is what happened.
Well,
and
you know, I
argue about it. That is what happened.
Well, you know, people.
That is not rape. Okay, and I was not injured by his attempt.
Okay.
I just went home, took a shower, went to work like everybody else, and forgot about it. I was not in any way, I wondered what had happened. I told my boyfriend about it. He wasn't upset about it. It was sort of a story that we kind of laughed about and went on with our lives. I was
yes, ma'am.
9 to 5.
And I'm gonna let you go on and get on with your life. And you all,
okay.
You know, just
thank you very much
I thank you for
all of the thoughtfulness you have put in here.
Well, you know, I'm not finna come bring you in here and do something to you I wouldn't want done to my sister.
Absolutely, and I feel the same way. I listened to all of your introduction, and I agree with a great deal of what you said in many ways about religion and about speaking the truth and a number of other things.
Yes, ma'am.
But I am in comradeship with you, if you want to put it that way.
Yes, ma'am.
I hold common cause with you on many issues affecting people of color.
When you told me you love our president, I know you got my heartstring. And so, you know, I mean, he's
I just broke down and cried. I have watched 12 Years a Slave and
yes, ma'am.
Butler. I am very interested in your causes.
Yes, ma'am.
That's why I love Reverend Al.
Yes, ma'am.
So I have a lot of respect for what you are talking about.
Yes,
and I can only tell you what I experienced. But
yes,
I think you've been very courteous to me.
Well, I intend to always be that way, as that's the first and greatest commandment. As that's you would,
absolutely right.
As you would like to be treated.
I wish you very well in your causes.
Well, thank you, sister, and may Allah and keep you safe and your family.
And the same to you.
All right.
Shalom. What is it?
You were saying it right. May Allah salam alaikum.
Shalom.
You can say shalom. That's fine too.
I need it, shalom.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. That's.
Your Arabic is a beautiful language.
Yes, ma'am. Anyone that wishing you peace, that language is beautiful.
Yes. that's what the Quran is about.
Yes, ma'am. All that stuff they doing over there, that's not Islam. Islam is what we doing right now.
That's right.
Yes, ma'am.
I know many people. You know who I admire? It's Fareed Zakaria.
Yes, I've listened to him. I've listened to him.
And if he
yes,
ran
ma'am.
for president, I'd vote for him too.
Yes, ma'am. All right. Okay.
Really?
And you greet your husband for me and tell him I say he better hold on to you. All right.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. So, she answered the question that was foremost in my mind. When I asked her point blank, did he drug and rape you? She said no. She believed she was drugged. But if he drugged her, the purpose for that would be to have his way with her. I know, that they call that slipping people a Mickey. But, if she wasn't touched, well, that's the end of that, as far as I'm concerned. You understand? All right. Because, yeah, man, if you grew up out there like I did and know some of the things that you know about some of the stuff that they do in Hollywood, take two to tango. So we're going to leave that alone. Now, this thing about all of us, every time you look up some, what's that, the 7-year-old, 12-year-old just got shot with a toy in his hand. Now, if you want that kind of stuff to stop, then you and I got to stop getting out here with picket signs and burning, throwing Molotov cocktails and all that old kind of stuff. All that is emotionalism. That's not going to solve your problem. If you want people to stop killing your people, you got to start showing some love for your people. Well, how you do that? You unite and you start caring about your children by putting up schools for them. All of you talented ones with the engineering degrees and all of this kind of thing, we need to come together and see how we can put them talents together and begin to take control of our own community. It's just like what I was telling, and Mayor Giuliani as good as said it. He when he was saying that, well, y'all kill more y'all than the police do. Saying that's why we have to send white officers over there. No, you don't have to send no white officer over there. You send black officers to patrol black communities. Then you can get us out your face, always talking about that you doing something based on racism. If you ain't there, you can't be accused. Now that will solve the problem of all of this shooting babies with toy pistols. Huh? Is any white folks hear me that disagree with that? I mean, and get these black officers out of white communities, patrolling white communities. If you got any, but maybe a few. But anyway, let white officers patrol white communities. Let black officers patrol black communities. And if you got mixed communities, have a black and a white officer in the car together. And depending on who they stop, that's which one of them get out. All right? Now that'll put a stop to all this other foolishness. Now, I'm telling you that if you don't put a stop to it, it's going to soon be stopped, and you ain't going to like the way it stopped. Pharaoh thought that he was going to just have his way with the, and I want to tell you something. There were never no people in bondage in Egypt over there on the continent of Africa. What you read of what happened to a Pharaoh and the children of Israel, as you call it, that's talking about America and black people and me. Now I'm warning you. You're not going to keep murdering us. And if you're tired of him murdering you and murdering your children, stop following him. I don't let my children play with guns, toys, or otherwise. And you don't need to let yours play with them. You ain't make no gun. Let him have his guns. It ain't, it's an exercise in futility to fight evil. The Bible don't say resist the evil. It says resist the devil. Because the evil is the after effect. The thought that produced it is what you need to be resisting. And you can't do it on your own. You need the word of God inside of you. And the only one who can put that there is me. Because nobody else understands the word of God. That's like the young brother that was telling me he's about to give up on, he call you his people. And I reminded him, he ain't got no people. You ain't responsible for nobody but you. God didn't make nobody responsible for the people but me. You think I'm lying? Turn to Ezekiel, the 3rd chapter. And I wasn't lying when I said that, how I feel about Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton is a decent man. I felt that way about John Kennedy too. When John Kennedy got killed, you know what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said? He set Malcolm down for standing up there talking crazy. And he said when Malcolm said what he said about the president, he was speaking for himself, not for the Nation of Islam. The messenger said, we too mourn the death of our president. And he said, our president. So, I mean, we're a long way from being the savages that we was raised to be. I'm talking about those white people is like anybody trying to pick up the Holy Bible against God. You're not going to fight God with what he produced. And you ain't going to fight white folks with what they produced. Do you understand? And in the first place, you ain't had enough practice in that kind of war to be called yourself going up against him. That's all his whole history. He showed you famous weapons of war. And he's showing you how he been crafting weapons for shedding blood ever since he been here. So that's not your way. That's not how you don't know nothing about no warfare, the science of warfare. You just, well, that'd be like me back in my 20s, talking about jumping in the ring with Muhammad Ali. I just to lay down as soon as I climb through the rope. Do you understand? He could do like that to the referee as soon as I climbed through the rope, because I didn't stand a chance against him. See?